So the biggest issue I've seen with the use of psychedelics in a spiritual journey is that. Hey guys, it's John out here on the back deck, and I am enjoying a slightly overcast, misty day. It's in the low 70s, but it's just stunning, and I can sit out here in a short sleeve shirt and a pair of shorts and no shoes and enjoy the space, loving it outside. Sipping broth, still nursing my voice back to health. I wanted to hop on and talk about this concept of the use of psychedelics in spirituality. Now, as I've often said in many of my other videos, spirituality is a personal journey. If that's what you want to do, that's your choice, completely your choice. But I want to talk about the issues that I've found with the people who I've met who are into ayahuasca and psychedelics, mushrooms, in their own spiritual journey. It is one of my core, truest beliefs that we need nothing in the physical world for our spiritual journey. And what I find very interesting about psychedelics is most of the issues that I find when talking to people who are very deeply into psychedelics or doing psychedelics for the first time is they tend to have this tendency to believe it's the psychedelics that are giving them the spiritual experience rather than they themselves having the power within to go to that spiritual experience. There's a famous story from years and years ago of Richard Pryor and Jim Carrey outside of the comedy club in Los Angeles. And Jim Carrey was smoking a joint, and he turns and he hands it to Richard Pryor and says, "You want some?" And Richard Pryor takes it and says, "Yeah," but he says, "You be careful with this stuff." And Jim Carrey says, "It's just a joint. What's the deal?" And Richard Pryor says, "Yeah, but I don't know if I'm funny or the cocaine is." That's what I'm finding with the people who I talk to about ayahuasca. They get very defensive of their ayahuasca or their psychedelics because to them, that is their way to the spiritual experience. But every time they tell me about their spiritual experiences, I've had all of them. I've had all the ones that they're talking about, and I've never done a drug in my life, and I don't even drink. So when I look at the need for something in the physical world to get me to a spiritual experience, I find that's actually disempowering you and empowering that substance. It's also the beginning of an addictive behavior to say, I need something to feel this way. When you look at the idea of psychedelics, if it's something you want to try and it's something you experience, go for it. I've also met many people who've tried it and had a horrible experience and never did it again. But it all comes down to your own personal power. Are you giving the power, the ability to touch a spiritual experience to a substance that's external from you, outside of yourself? Or do you go within and actually touch the source within yourself? The Bible says the kingdom of heaven is within, right? And when Buddha said the secret to enlightenment is the eradication of fear, for many people, the psychedelics induce fear. For other people, they just induce a awareness of consciousness that allows them to exhale, allows them to set down their fears. When you look at the idea of ayahuasca as the path to spirituality, I tend to think for myself that to actually put faith in something outside of myself is diminishing my own divinity, my own ability to connect. And the people that I have dealt with in my private sessions who are really believing that that is the only way to spirituality will find ways to justify it. I recently had someone come on and give me a comment asking me, how often did Jesus use magic mushrooms? And I have no memory of any drugs being used by Jeshua at all. But people will always try to fit their story or their justification or their method into the story of Jeshua. And that's in any aspect. I've met gay men who say Jeshua was gay. I've met women who've told me that Mary was more important than Jeshua. So it all comes down to this idea that, we all try to mold our ideas into the ancient text, but Jeshua said the kingdom of heaven is within you. I leave you one commandment, love one another. It doesn't say, I leave you one commandment, get high and love one another, or get You know, alter your state of consciousness to find where love is. It doesn't say any of those things. It says, come to your own self within. One of my early regressions quote I say often: when you seek a path, the path is laid before you. But until you turn the path back to yourself, you never find the doorway. Psychedelics are just a path. They're just a path away from yourself. Because the idea that you feel you need the ayahuasca or the psychedelic to have the experience means you are no longer looking within. You are looking without for something to give you the experience. When I talk about this subject, people get mad and they say, you're wrong about psychedelics. And you can say I'm wrong all you want. As I said, spirituality is a personal journey. If that's your journey, I can respect that that's your journey. I personally think the second you start putting faith in something in this illusion of belief that we live in as something that you have to have that experience, I think all you're really doing is you're giving that substance permission for you to have that experience. And so there is nothing in this physical world that we need to touch God or to touch the source or to have the bigger awareness of our own divinity. You don't need to have psychedelics. You don't need to have substances to make you feel better. You know, I've often said an addiction itself is just giving yourself permission to exhale. You smoke and you exhale. Feels so good. I need a drink. You give yourself permission, and more likely, you give the substance the power, saying that's what makes me feel good. When in reality, it's the exhale. It's the release of the fears and the anxieties. Psychedelics will give you the permission to say it's not of my mind, it's of something greater. It's still your mind, but it's your mind giving yourself permission to have a greater awareness. And you don't need anything to do that. My personal experience is I've done astral travel, out of bodies, I've crossed over. I've literally helped people heal, help come to their belief in healing, and so they heal. I've had just amazing experiences. I see energy. I do all those things. Never done a drug in my life, and darn sure haven't done a psychedelic drug. So my point of this video is not to bash psychedelics in any way, shape, or form. If that's your choice and you want to go that route, I think that's a longer route to your divinity, myself personally. But if that's your route, then go for it and take it. This is not a bashing psychedelics video. This is another perspective. This is my truth. My truth is that if you look outside of yourself, you're taking a much longer route to coming to the realization you don't need anything outside of yourself. And of all the people that I've dealt with, and last year I did over 600 private sessions, and all of the ones that had to do with psychedelics, the majority of them didn't believe in themselves enough to have the experience without the psychedelics. And that to me is just, it saddens me, because I know they all have the power within themselves to have every experience they ever wanted. But as long as they're putting faith in a psychedelic, as long as they're putting faith in something in this physical illusion rather than within their self, we are only our consciousness. And it's your belief about the psychedelic that is giving you that experience. But in reality, you are only a consciousness. I say this in several videos. Everything we're looking at is just atoms in motion, including our physical form. All we are is our consciousness, and all this outer expression is an illusion of what we believe. It's the reflection of our belief. In the beginning is the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. Our words, thoughts, beliefs go out to God, and God reflects that in the image back to us. And so it comes down to, what you think you become, you create your world, and you are the culmination of your thought. And as a man thinketh, so is he. It comes down to, if you think psychedelics are the only way, or the way you get there, then that's going to be the only way you get there. I don't think I need any of them. And I have the experiences. If you want these experiences and retain control of yourself during the process, because in psychedelics, you often will lose control of your physical form. If you want to feel like you're in control and actually have the experience very consciously, then I would highly recommend not doing psychedelics. But if you want to have that feeling of floating out in the ethers and having no control over your physical form, you're altering your conscious state, which means you're not going to be in control of the physical form because you're releasing that in a way that's artificial. So that's my thought on this. You guys have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon. See ya. Bye.